So a minister shared this wonderful story that I want to share with you. Her name is Reverend Vanessa Reeves. She's a minister down at CSL Huntington Beach. She talked about when she was in high school, when she saw the movie Grease for the first time. And when she saw it, there was a line in the movie. It happened when all the girls were in the lunch cafeteria. And one of the women said something. I've seen the movie several times. I have no memory of this line, but she thought this line was hilarious. And so she kept saying it over and over because she thought it was so funny and drove her sister crazy. It was just like this thing that grabbed her. She kept saying it. So now about jumping 5 years ahead in her life, she and her fiancé have opened up a restaurant. They're working hard. They're engaged. She got an expensive diamond ring. They had it on layaway. And for her birthday, he surprised her and bought the whole ring and brought it to the restaurant. And she was so excited, and she put it on her finger. It hadn't been fitted yet, but she's showing it to everybody. She's so happy. And then the restaurant business, the people start coming in. It gets really busy. And 4 hours later, she realizes the ring's gone. She had it for less than 4 hours, and she's totally crying and looking everywhere. She has everybody looking for this diamond ring, and they can't find it. And she's devastated. And she remembers her mother says that there's nothing lost in God, but only misplaced. So she just keeps reminding herself of that, but it's still pretty devastating. She goes home. She can't sleep very well. She gets up the next morning to go to work. She's at the restaurant, and in all that activity, she had to make a lot of salads. And she's putting out the macaroni salad, and there's her diamond ring. The line in Grease that she thought was so hilarious is, "I lost my diamond ring in the I lost my diamond in the macaroni salad." Isn't that amazing? She thought that was so funny when she said it. 5 years later, she lost her diamond in the macaroni salad. The power of language in our words. This month, we are revisiting our basic universal truth principles. Last week, we began with the thing itself. The reason why Ernest Holmes, who is the founder of Centers for Spiritual Living, called it the thing itself is to get the baggage away from the idea of what this thing is. Because when we use God or Brahma or life or universe, whatever there is, you may have some baggage around it. All words are okay because we know the thing itself is beyond concept. It is this thing that is in, through, and as all creation. It is infinite. It cannot be contained by language, by form, because it is formless. It is the formless that has birthed itself into form, but is beyond all form. The way Plotinus puts it, and Ernest Holmes quoted, it is the infinite which is in, through, and as all creation, yet never absorbed by that creation. So there's no place where it stops. There's no place where it stops and something else begins. That's the nature of infinite. If something else begins, that would be finite. That's a really basic, essential concept, because then we know that we are always in spirit. We can never be outside of spirit. Every life form, everything that we see, taste, touch, and smell is the life of spirit, is an aspect of spirit. So we start really understanding and deepening that there's only one. We are in this dualistic world, in the human world, in this planet Earth, three-dimensional world. So we experience dark and light, shades of gray. And as we continue to transcend to these higher dimensions, as we allow this oneness to take us higher, lower, deeper, wider, that separation starts to dissolve. And we get to the place where there are no opposites. That's a very high vibration, by the way, and it's invisible. It's something we can't see with our eyes. But it is real. It is more real, actually, than everything that we see. This is what we hear from the mystics, from every religion, every spiritual path. It is more real, that which we cannot see, than everything that we can see. Anything that we see in form is temporary, it is relative, it changes, it moves, time and space moves, it's relative. But the absolute is unchanging, and the absolute is all good. It's a good where there is no opposite. There's a love where there is no opposite. There's a beauty, a harmony, a peace that passes all human understanding. And the whole purpose of our spiritual journey is to wake up and remember that we are made in this image and likeness, that we are this. And that's not just a concept. We want to get to the place where it moves from concept to actual things that we experience within ourselves, that we are this divine essence, that the divine presence is alive and awake within each and every one of us. When I'm assisting people through writing affirmative prayer, one of the words I love to use is as. It's not a part of me, or I'm not an aspect of it. It is as me. There's no separation. It's not God and, it's God as. The divine presence as. Love as. There's no separation. This is really a wonderful, powerful awareness, because not only are we the thing itself, the divine presence, when we look at the macrocosm, in the big picture, how does this divine presence bring itself into form? We've heard in the beginning was the Word. There's that first idea. There's this presence, there's existence, there's beingness, and then there's this thought. There's this new idea. And this idea is the first, what we call in our teaching, first cause. And in that first idea, creation actually has begun at that process. And then it's dropped into this energy, this law. The Word of God is perfect law. God's Word is perfect law. It says, it knows who it is, it has this idea, the energy, the law picks up on it, and it starts to create form. And all of us are an aspect, are a creative form. Not just us, human beings have only been here a small period. All of the galaxies upon galaxies, all time and all space. It's beyond anything we could ever really humanly imagine when we start looking at how vast the galaxies and galaxies are, or every grain of sand, every leaf. Everything is unique. Everything is different. It's mind-boggling. We couldn't even conceive how vast it is in just every little minutia detail. And this is how the divine presence is creating itself into form in every moment of every day. Again, it's infinite. It is not just in the past. I mistakenly put for the title for today's talk, in the beginning was the Word. It really is in the beginning is the Word, because the Word is happening all of the time. The Word is making itself into form moment by moment. And how is it doing that? It's doing it through us. We have become vehicles of the divine in form. That's what human beings do. That's what we are. We are made in the image and likeness of pure spirit. That's really powerful to realize that. So as the divine has a new idea, when we have a new idea, the same process is at work. So it's called the macrocosm and the microcosm. We think a thought, we start having this idea, this belief, we hold it long enough, the law, this energy that surrounds and unfolds us, responds to it, and it becomes part of our reality. We call it, the analogy that's used all the time is seed, soil, plant. The law is the soil. The new idea is the seed. We plant the seed in the soil, and out comes the new plant. So in our teaching, this is what we teach. This is the creative process that's happening all of the time. We start to look at our life. How do we see the connection? Well, we start paying attention to the words and the language that we use. Is there a connection with the language that we use, the beliefs that we have, the thoughts that we have, and the external world? Rather than tell people that, I like to ask them to just consider it, look at their life. Do we see a connection between our beliefs about what this world is and what our experience is? Often they match. If we don't like what we're seeing, then we invite people to say, well, is that a true belief? Is that an absolute belief, or can we change it? If we believe that there's only lack, can we change it to abundance? If I believe that I always have, well, actually I'm going to use an example because we just had it in our lesson for, we also have a little group, Yogananda group, that does self-realization lessons, and the lesson he was talking about someone who always believed he was a failure at business, and he couldn't get, he was so bad at business, he thought he brought failure to the companies. He just thought, I'm just bad luck wherever I go. And he lost all his friends because he carried this darkness around him, and he believed it so strongly. So Paramahansa Yogananda was working with him. I swear it was a New Thought affirmation. Just say, every day in every way, I'm a new business person. I'm like, don't we say that in New Thought? It's that affirming something new. And it didn't happen overnight. He kept affirming a new idea, a new belief system. And it took time and persistence because, in fact, it didn't happen at first. The next business failed, and then the next business failed. So it was affirming his negative belief, but Yogananda was persistent. No, you're doing the work. It's happening. It's getting better, and eventually, always our stories have happy endings. He's successful, and the business is successful. And he said, it's because you've changed your inner life. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to allow ourselves to know that we do not need to be a victim to our circumstance or condition. That when we start to change our beliefs, change how we think about things, how we feel about things, we can have a different external reality. We don't need to be a victim to circumstances. It's incredibly powerful and it works. I know there are many people who here who have many stories of how this has worked in your life, where you have used your thought to create a new reality. One of the things that people ask me all the time, does this mean I need to micromanage all my words? Do I need to be afraid of everything that I say? So I want to be really clear how this works. No, you do not. We do not. That's becoming a control freak. There are many times where we're just talking. If we're processing something, I'm just talking. I need to process it. Sometimes I don't know what I don't know what I think, so I need to talk about it out loud to see what I think. Sometimes I'm upset about something and I'll talk it out loud. I'm not holding on to it. I'm not creating it. I'm trying to understand something. I might need, if I'm upset about something, to voice that I'm upset about something. So this is not a process about becoming inauthentic. It is not about a process of denying how we're feeling. We can talk about how we're feeling. What creates is not the words, but the belief. And we know when we hear someone who has a belief. So there's a difference between me saying, oh yeah, I can understand there's a lot of abundance and it's everywhere and I get it that I'm one with it. And they're just talking. They're not creating. They're just talking. For someone said, oh no, I'm abundant. I get that I am that place, and you can feel it in them. They know that they know that they know that the infinite abundance moves in through and as each and every cell and pore of their being, that their entire life is full and overflowing in the glory of the living God, and they live it, and you feel it, and there's a no doubt in it. If you even tried to shake their belief and say, well, there's lack. No, there's not in my world. There's just no opening. That's what Ernest Holmes talks about, having the conviction and the fire. That's what creates that belief, that conviction. And we can be just as strong about that on a negative thing. I'm going to have a terrible day today. I just know it. No, you're not. Good things are going to, nope, I'm going to have, you just know there's no wall, there's no entry way there. Nope, I'm going to have a bad day. And someone claims that, and you can feel the energy of it. They're not just saying it. They're not just saying, well, I might have a bad day, or there's some opening there. There's some flexibility. But when someone says it with conviction, with a feeling of strong belief, that's what starts creating, that's what gets activated. So when that woman, I love that story because she, I don't know how many of you ever heard that line in Greece. I've never heard that line, that there's a ring, there's a diamond, I lost my diamond in a macaroni salad. For some reason, she picked up on that one line and said it over and over. There's something about that line that grabbed her. It did not show up into her life 5 years later because she didn't have a diamond ring that signed up to her. But the moment that diamond ring showed up in her life, she's working in a restaurant. The scene takes place in the cafeteria. I mean, it's extraordinary. It all completely manifests, but there was an energy around it, a positive and a negative. She thought it was funny. Her sister thought it was annoying. But we're creating, and we're creating sometimes when we don't know we're creating. What do we find that we're saying a lot with conviction that we may not even know that we're saying with a lot of conviction? Sometimes we're not conscious. That's a big part of this journey, is to become conscious of what we're saying with conviction, and we don't even know that we're saying it. And people can support us in that in a loving way. But there's two aspects this isn't very effective, and I want to talk about that as well. It doesn't always work. We have to be clear on the difference between secondary causation and first cause. When I'm creating with my mind, using my imagination, imagination is key, by the way. She had an imagination with a diamond in my macaroni salad. She had a visual. She had imagined it. When we have emotion, imagination, we're thinking about it, we can create a lot of stuff. But that's still secondary causation. This is why that we can have so many stories where this law works, but there's also stories where it doesn't. And I'm enough of a person who's interested in truth to say it doesn't work absolutely all of the time, that there are times when it doesn't work. And we have to acknowledge that because this world is very complex. As evolutionary developmentalists will say that as we continue to evolve in the human realm, things become more complex, not less less complex, but there's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of elements at play. And we don't know everything. It always concerns me when we make the laws of the universe so simple. This is such an incredibly vast, infinite, complex, amazing, extraordinary universe. And when we think we've got it all boxed together and I got all these principles and I know them, and there's not a lot of room for mystery. There's not a lot of room for other possibilities. And there are, because it does not work exactly all of the time in the way that we want. There are people who don't get cured. We have amazing stories when they do, and then we have also stories where they don't. We have people who do work with abundance, and it really flows for them, but other people, they still struggle. That's because it's secondary causation. That's one way it doesn't always work. Second way, because we're spiritual and divine, and often when we're creating, it's from, when I'm saying secondary, what I'm saying is from the human mind. I don't like what I have, I'm going to change it, and I've changed my mind. An example I've used, many of you, I'm just going to give a quick example, I know so many of you know it. I wanted to be an actress, had no background, never been in a play, used my mind. I'd read Adam Smith's book, Power of Mind, and I used it. I didn't know at the time, I was at Boston University, just graduating when I made up my mind to do this, that Boston University had one of the best fine art programs in the States. Went to one acting class. The acting teacher helped me outside of class. I auditioned, made it to an acting school in LA where Spencer Tracy, Robert Redford went to, a lot of famous people. I'd still never been in a play. I've never done a thing. I created something out of nothing just using my mind, using my imagination. And it took time and it took energy. I had to tell the whole world that I'm doing it, moved across, I'm going to become an actress. We can do amazing things with our mind. It is possible. But it doesn't always work. In this case, it does. It did. And it works a lot, but it doesn't always work. The second challenge with it, is this works really well when you're in a good place. When you're feeling strong and imaginative and creative and you feel empowered. But what happens when you're feeling incredibly depressed or hopeless? When you're feeling anxious and your emotional life is overwhelming you? To say, well, just think good thoughts. It's not going to work. You don't have the energy to think good thoughts. There's a place that when we get to, everything can feel helpless. You could feel helpless. You could feel hopeless. I've done this. I don't have the power. Then what do we do? What is a spiritual teaching gift if you have to always be sort of strong in a good place to use it? Or in a relatively good place, or enough of a good place to really start doing the principles. It's not very effective if it's not helping the person or any of us when we're at our lowest. I spent 4 years in a mental health facility. I just got to say this. May the Lighthouse community be a place where this is no longer stigmatism. When I worked there, there was a patient, and they wanted me to call their boss but not let them know that they were a psychiatric hospital. And I thought, well, why? Because I saw so much health and so much transformation happen there. I thought it was nothing but a great place. But then I totally forgotten that the external world still had the stigmatism around it, that it was considered bad. That isn't crazy. I remember a psychiatrist, this is a little sidebar, but it's my little thing, pulled me aside and he was showing me an x-ray of someone's brain that was healthy and where there were some challenges, where the brain wasn't quite off. No different than showing x-rays of a bone that's been broken or an organ that needs, a gallbladder that needs to be fixed. We don't have a stigmatism around that. Why do we have a stigmatism around mental health? It's time to get rid of that. I know the Lighthouse is a place where that does not exist. We do not shame or think anyone is less than. So when people are going through that place, and a lot of depression isn't caused mentally, it's just because of a situation or circumstance. We feel hopeless, we feel helpless. What do we do then? So right after this time, I created my whole life out of nothing. I got this acting job or school, and I'm there for a semester, and then this inner spirit that is not of me yells in my head, no. And in that moment I knew I don't belong there. That did not come from me. For me, I was creating the acting school because I had my own agenda going on. But once spirit speaks, once first cause lets itself know, you don't shift. So you don't disobey. You can't. It's just there. So I left the school. They told me when I left, oh, no, you're doing well enough. You don't need to leave. I said, no, I need to leave. Fortunately, my dad let me stay in his house for a month. Actually, for longer than that. But for a month, I was depressed. It was hopeless because I had spent so much energy. I mean, it takes a lot to create something out of nothing. I had put so much mental energy, emotional energy into creating this life that I thought I wanted, that when it was gone, there was emptiness. I had no idea. I didn't have any energy to create. I didn't have any really other desire that I wanted to start working on. I just was empty. I had no idea what to do next. I felt completely hopeless. I felt helpless. My dad wanted me to get a job, and I had no energy. I would sleep a lot of the day in and day out. But the one thing that I did, and this is where I want to make the point, I had found a New Thought church when I was at that acting school. God's always using us, always working through us when we know it or not. And it was teaching that we're whole, perfect, and complete. It was teaching that this infinite presence is always loving. It always wants the highest for us. So I was praying all the time when I was awake, help me. I have no idea what to do. Please. We have this thing in Centers for Spiritual Living, we don't beg or beseech. Yes, we do. When we are helpless, when we are in that dark place, to try to say, well, yes, I'm good. I don't have that energy. Help me. I need help. And it didn't happen overnight. It was for a month. I just kept asking and asking and asking, and nothing was coming, and I didn't move. They say, don't move until you hear that voice of spirit. And so I was sitting on the floor, leaning against the bed. It had been about a month. That's the time period I have in my head. And suddenly, just everything became light, and that New Thought church that was in L.A. became alive, and I knew this was First Cause. First Cause was saying, this is your path. The moment that vision came, hopelessness, instantly, gone. I was fine, everything was great, I was back with my energy, because I had heard from pure spirit. It wasn't something. That's the difference between creating something out of nothing, out of my secondary mind. I have to work really hard at it. When it's coming from spirit, it's done and it's immediate. I didn't have to work hard at it. It wasn't struggle. It wasn't effort. I wasn't creating something. It was already done. I was walking in alignment with that which had moved through me. What I loved about this reading that Sherry had today, this universe was created from so much love. It was love for itself, love for its creation. When we start to really understand that First Cause is a love beyond anything we could ever humanly imagine, and we start to put our attention on there, see, we're co-creating either way. Whether I'm co-creating in secondary causation or I'm co-creating just by putting my attention on the infinite love intelligence of the universe. I'm saying, I'm turning to it, I'm turning away from the problem and saying, help. I'm open, I'm available, yes to this love, yes to this love. What am I saying to the universe over and over? I believe there's a loving presence and it's guiding me, it's directing me. I'm still using the same creative potential within me. I'm just focusing it in a direction of a presence that is greater than I am, and I don't have the answers. I'm willing to not know. I'm willing to be humble. I'm willing to be open and listen and allow. And this is the First Cause. God's word is the law of God. When we tap into that presence and into that power, into that First Cause, it is all already done on every dimension, and everything in the universe will support us in that. And usually it takes years. So years later, there are different layers of surrender. Ramana Maharshi says, no one can fully surrender their life all at once, that it takes time. We surrender in bits and pieces because I still have my human desires. So I start to feel good again. Now that I'm feeling good again, now my desires are kicking back in. So I have this surrender life. Yes, I want to do God's will, but I also have my own desires. And I want to get fulfilled. So it's this back and forth process that we're both surrendering and allowing the divine presence to move through in us. We make ourselves and allow ourselves to be available to the word that wants to reveal itself through and as us. And I'm also humanly operating, and I still have these things that I'm working through. And so I consciously am using these law of creation. I'm using the law to bless people, to see the light. I am, as a secondary causation, still using the same principle. I'm consciously choosing whether it's to focus on the divine. I would love to be focused on the divine. I hope you all have this ideal. just to be a pure vehicle of the divine, have no will of my own, just totally surrendered and allow myself to be a constant vehicle of light and love 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I am very far from that, though. I have the ideal, then there's the reality. I still am very human. So I'm working on both. I'm doing my spiritual practices to open to become a greater vehicle, and I'm working humanly to work with all the stuff that I still have, using these principles that we teach, that where I place my attention on. Am I placing my attention on creating harm, or am I creating good? What am I doing with my life? What are the things that I want to change? I can still create stuff out of nothing, and there's no judgment. This isn't about, when I say first cause or secondary cause, it's not one's bad and one's good. We need both of them. The universe created us in its image and likeness so we can create, so we can be self-empowered. We are meant to be self-empowered and surrendered both. It's this wonderful simultaneous experience that we're having, both to be surrendered and allowing and open and available, but not so available that we become passive and we don't do anything because we're always waiting around to hear spirit. We need to act. We need to move forward. So, are you with me on this? You getting it? All right. So we're co-creating our reality all of the time. When we're feeling good and we're feeling strong, we can use our mind in a really positive, affirmative, conscious way. We still are authentic and sharing things, but when we are authentic and hear things that are hurting, that's how we know what needs to be healed, to use our conscious mind. We're doing our meditation, our receiving and allowing and visioning to hear the spirit moving through us and speaking through us. It's thinking its thoughts through us. Every day, every moment of every day, we are in co-creation. The key there is co-creation. We want to make sure we're not thinking that we are the creator. We are co-creating with spirit. In the beginning is the word. We allow that word to move through us. We allow ourselves to the best of our ability to speak that word as much as we possibly can into our day. I want to end our talk today with a wonderful light story as a reminder that we're always co-creating our world. Reverend Valerie Reeves shares another story, and this is with her sister. Her sister had a very strong belief that she never gets tickets when she's in the car. Always said, I never get tickets. I just affirm that. I know that I don't get tickets. That's just her thing. She started dating a guy, and he said, oh, that's funny, because I always get tickets. And that was sort of the joke between them. He always would say, I get tickets. She didn't get tickets. They decide to go on a road trip to Nebraska. They're living in LA. They want to visit her family. And as they're driving, he takes a nap, lies down. She's driving, and she's speeding because she's getting excited because they're getting closer to Nebraska. And a police car goes. And it's like, oh, no, police car. And her boyfriend wakes up, and he goes, see, now you're with me. I always get tickets. And she goes, no, I don't get tickets. That's just not my thing. So the police officer comes up to the car, and he says, do you know why I stopped you? And she goes, I know, I was speeding. I'm getting closer to home. I haven't seen my family in so long. I just got really excited. I'm speeding. I promise I won't do it again. And he looks at her and goes, okay, I believe you. I'm not going to give you a ticket. And then he leans in and he goes, but I'm giving you a ticket because you're not wearing a seatbelt. We are always co-creating our reality. You got it? That's it right there. We're always doing it. What is the reality that you're co-creating today in this moment? What are you co-creating for this wonderful day, this wonderful week, this life that you are living? What is it, this reality you are co-creating with Spirit, the infinite power of the universe? This is a teaching where we get to step in and be empowered. And how grateful I am to know that there is only one power, one presence that is in, through, and as all creation, and yet never absorbed by that creation. How grateful I am to know that it is absolutely free of all limitations, that is free, there's no bondage, there's nothing limiting it, it is full of infinite joy, infinite creativity, infinite abundance, infinite beauty, infinite love beyond our wildest imagination. There is no opposite. It is in, through, and as every galaxy, every billions and billions of stars is alive and awake with this one power and this one presence of infinite good, infinite love, infinite joy, infinite peace. And we radiate and pulsate and recognize that this is this beautiful galaxy, this Milky Way galaxy in which we inhabit, this beautiful Earth planet, this gorgeous planet that we see is a beautiful jewel of pure spirit. This is spirit's creation, and it loves itself as every minutiae detail. How grateful I am to feel and to know the power and the presence of the love of God that is alive and awake as each and every one of us right here and right now. That each and every one of us in this room is alive and awake to the truth of who and what we really are. That these beautiful, infinite bodies are alive in form right now and awake and aware, that each person to our right and to our left and in front of us and in back of us is the life of pure spirit, that everywhere we go we see and know pure spirit, that every problem and challenge behind those problems and challenges that seem sometimes impossible to move, the divine love that created us is even now allowing, as we say yes, itself to be shifted and moved into a healing, to a transformation. There is nothing that this power and this love is not able to shift and transform right here and right now to the moment we say yes. We say yes to this first cause idea for our life. We were birthed in love. We were born from love. We are created in love. We express love. We shine love. We are love on our physical body, love on our emotional body, love on our mental body. That is who we really are. On every level and dimension of our being, we are made in the image and likeness of pure love, pure light, pure grace. We are that now. There's nothing that we could ever do to hurt, harm, or endanger this reality, this truth of our life. And so we stand in the power of that awareness. We stand in the truth of who and what we really are. We open ourselves to allow it to be activated in every area of our life, not only for us, but for those that we love. We open our heart now to anyone that we know who is in pain or in suffering, even if it is ourselves. And we know that this love is right there. We don't know how that love is going to work, but this love knows. This love is infinitely intelligent. We open and create the space for this love to give its healing in ways that we cannot even begin to imagine. We just know that we know that everything is the source, is the creation of this love, that this love is the source of everything. So we see it for our planet. We see it for this country. We see it as we go through so many struggles and natural disasters. There behind all of it, behind all the appearances, is the pure power of love. We stand in the authority and the awareness that this love is all that there is. Everything is birthed in love. Everything ends in love. Everything is fulfilled in love. Love is the Alpha and the Omega of all life. It is from this awareness, this powerful awareness, that we remember that we are heaven on earth right here and right now. We are that place. We are a blessing wherever we are. And we are blessed wherever we are. If we are in need of receiving this love today, we allow our hearts to open up and receive. Love is giving its help to us. It's giving its resources. It's giving its energy. It's giving its support, giving us support, and we allow it in. We trust this love with our whole heart, body, mind, and being. There's no separation ever. There's no part that is ever rejected. There's no part that is ever not enough. Every aspect of who we are is love. Every aspect of this planet is love. Every aspect of creation is love. To God be the glory. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. For all the intentions that were set here today, I know they are being fulfilled even now by the power of this love. For we are the co-creators of our universe. For all of this good and more than words could ever possibly say, I just say thank you, thank you, thank you, divine, infinite, and eternal one. I release this word into the law of life, knowing that as it is spoken, it is done. And I invite us all to say together now, and so it is. Amen and amen.